What are you doing here? And is that my shirt?
Good morning to you, too.
Get up right now. Those were the first words Marcus heard as the morning sun poured through the blinds and hit his face. But the voice wasn't his own. It wasn't his young son's either. It was a woman's voice, strong, deep, commanding, and when he opened his eyes fully, his heart slammed against his ribs. Because standing at the foot of his bed was the last person he ever expected to see in his tiny apartment, the CEO of his company, wearing nothing but his oversized shirt, and the next thing she said froze into his core dot morning light spilled into Marcus Reed's cramped apartment, touching the peeling wallpaper and worn-out furniture with a soft glow. His alarm had not gone off yet. His mind was still between dreaming and waking. He felt warm, comfortable, safe for a rare moment. That comfort lasted exactly 3 seconds before a sharp voice pierced through the haze. He bolted upright, blinking in confusion, and his breath caught in his throat. The woman standing in his room looked like she had stepped out of another world entirely. Tall, elegant, radiating authority even with messy morning hair. She wore only his white shirt, the one he kept draped on a chair. And the sight of her in something so personal hit him with a shock so heavy he couldn't form a single thought. Her name was Alicia Hartwell, the youngest and most powerful CEO the company had ever had. She was commanding, brilliant, and impossibly out of place in Marcus's modest apartment. She looked around as though inspecting a battlefield, her eyes sharp with hidden emotion. His heart pounded wildly, not because she was intimidating, but because nothing about this moment made sense. Marcus's mind raced. He remembered nothing from the night before except working overtime and carrying his sleeping son to bed. He would never bring a woman home casually. That wasn't him. He wasn't reckless. He was a single father with responsibilities and a reputation to protect. Fear twisted in his stomach as he tried to piece together what happened. Alicia folded her arms, still wearing his shirt loosely buttoned. Her expression wasn't flirtatious. It wasn't amused. It was serious, heavy, as if she had carried a weight all night and couldn't hold it. Alone anymore, Marcus stammered a question, but she lifted a hand to silence him. She looked toward the hallway where his young son Malik slept quietly in his room. Her gaze softened for a heartbeat before hardening again. Marcus had never seen that expression on her face at worked-out Alicia finally spoke. She said she had nowhere else to go. Her voice cracked on the last word, barely noticeable, but enough for Marcus to freeze. This was the woman everyone saw as unbreakable. The woman who walked through boardrooms like storms bowed to her. The woman who fired people with a glance and rebuilt departments in a week. But here, in his old shirt and bare feet, she looked like someone who had run from something dark. Marcus carefully swung his legs off the bed, keeping his voice low and steady. He wasn't sure if she was in danger, hurt, or hiding from something. He only knew that this moment mattered more than his confusion. He led her to the kitchen, away from Malik's room, and she followed silently, her shoulders tight with tension. Alicia sat at his small kitchen table, the one with wobbly legs, and breathed deeply, as though preparing to reveal a truth she had never spoken to anyone. Marcus poured water into a chip mug and set it in front of her. She stared at it for a long moment before her eyes lifted to him. Then, she told him the one thing that left him completely still. She said she felt safer waking up in his shirt than she had felt in. Her entire penthouse suite. The words cut through Marcus like warm fire. He saw pain behind her eyes, real pain. The kind that came from living in rooms full of people who wanted something from her, not someone who saw her as a human being. She told him she couldn't sleep last night, that she had reached a breaking point, that she had driven aimlessly until her car stopped in front of his building. She didn't know why she climbed the stairs. She didn't know why she knocked on his door at midnight. All she knew was that she trusted him more than she trusted anyone else in her life. Marcus sat across from her slowly, overwhelmed by the vulnerability in her voice. He remembered opening his door the night before and seeing her trembling, her eyes red with exhaustion, asking if she could sit for a moment. He had given her a blanket, offered her the couch, and gone to check on Malik. He must have fallen asleep putting Malik to bed, leaving Alicia in the quiet of his living room. She must have found his shirt, worn it for comfort, and drifted to sleep as well. Now she looked at him as if afraid he would judge her, as if afraid he would send her back to the world that broke her in the first place. Marcus studied her carefully. This was a woman who carried entire companies on her shoulders, not someone who expected help. His presence grounded her in a way she couldn't explain. She confessed that everyone in her life treated her like a machine, a leader, a symbol, but never a person. Never someone who could crumble or breathe or feel. Marcus listened. His silence was not judgment. It was understanding. He knew what it felt like to hold up a world alone, to protect a child, to work until your spirit cracked, to feel unseen. He understood her more than she knew. He promised nothing dramatic. He made no grand speeches. He simply said she could stay as long as she needed. Alicia stared at him for a long time, shock and relief mixing in her expression. She asked why he trusted her, why he wasn't afraid of being used or manipulated. Marcus answered with quiet certainty, because people who come to you broken are not the ones who will break you. Alicia's eyes softened. For the first time, she looked like someone who could finally breathe. Then Malik wandered sleepily into the room, rubbing his eyes. He froze at the sight of Alicia in his father's oversized shirt. The boy's innocence broke the tension instantly. He asked if she was hungry and said he could share his cereal. Alicia's face lit up with a tenderness Marcus had never seen from her before. She thanked him softly and watched as the little boy pushed the cereal box toward her Dot as they ate together. Alicia found herself really laughing for the first time in months. Marcus watched her quietly, amazed by how natural she looked in his kitchen, in his shirt. In a world far smaller than the one she ruled Dot by the time the morning sun climbed higher. Her shoulders had relaxed and her spirit had steadied. She stood and placed a mug in the sink gently, then turned to Marcus with a look he would never forget. She told him that last night she found something she didn't even know. She had lost a reason to feel safe again. She glanced down at his shirt, then back up at him. She said that wearing something that belonged to someone kind made her feel more human than any wealth or success ever had. Then she whispered that this small, humble apartment had given her more peace in one night than her mansion had given her in 10 years. Marcus stood frozen, realizing the weight of her words. She walked closer, placed a gentle hand on his chest, and told him he wasn't just someone she trusted Dot. He was someone she had begun to need. And as she walked toward the door, ready to face her world again, she looked back with a soft, grateful smile that held more emotion than words ever could. She said that when people reach their breaking point, they don't run to power or money. They run to kindness. They run to the one place their heart feels safe, and last night, her heart chose him.